Okay, Rania Khalek, you've been at some of the protest encampments that we've been seeing in America, obviously in recent weeks. But what do you think of the situation now, which feels like whatever happens, we're heading to the end game here with this war on Hamas? Israel say, we're going to finish the job, we're going to take out every last remaining Hamas terrorist. But of course, many people have a deep concern that if they do this in Rafah, which is a massive refugee camp at the moment, then many thousands of civilians more are going to get killed.
Well, Piers, you're right about that. I mean, this is 7 months of genocide we've been witnessing that continues to unfold. And what's happening right now is Israel has destroyed most of Gaza. They forced 1.3 million people into Rafah, where they told them to shelter. It's supposed to be a safe zone, but they've been bombing it and killing people there anyway. And if we look at what else they've done to the rest of Gaza, they've completely blown up entire apartment blocks. They've dismantled every single hospital in Gaza, including at two of them, El Shifa and Al Nasser Hospital, where they summarily executed hundreds of people, including doctors and patients, and threw them into mass graves. They've destroyed every university in Gaza. 600,000 of the 1.3 million Palestinians sheltering in Rafah right now are children, who, by the way, every single day are dealing with starvation because Israel has put them under a complete siege. It's completely outrageous that 7 months into this, we are still even having a debate about whether this is okay to be doing. This is a genocide being carried out against a defenseless population. And if Israel's allowed to continue into Rafah, we're going to see a bigger bloodbath than we already have.
Well, we're certainly going to see a lot more bloodshed. There's no question of that. On the question of genocide, what Israel say and what their supporters say, and what I'm sure Emily would say, is if Israel was genuinely perpetrating genocide, it has the tools to kill every single person in Gaza, and it hasn't done that, has no intention of doing that. However, if you want to talk about genocidal intent, Hamas has made it crystal clear that they do want the elimination of Israel. And in fact, after October the 7th, the official spokesman came out and said, we want to do it again and again and again. So there is clear genocidal intent from Hamas, isn't there?
Well, Piers, I have a list here of all of the genocidal statements by high-level Israeli officials that the South Africans did a very good job of presenting a case about at the ICJ.
Yeah, but they didn't actually conclude. But hang on, they didn't actually conclude it was genocide yet. So my question to you is not actually about that. It's whether you believe that Hamas has genocidal intent, which they began on October the 7th in that horrendous manner, and which they have repeatedly said they wish to continue. Do you accept that is genocidal intent?
I just don't accept the premise. Israel is a settler colony that is committed to stealing as much land as possible with as few Palestinians on it as possible. Israeli leaders have always said that.
I don't want to push on it.
Carrying out right now. Well, let me finish.
I'm not going to ask you again. I just wonder. You have mentioned. Hang on.
I just want to finish.
I understand, but you were the one that mentioned genocide repeatedly. So I'm just simply asking whether you think that Hamas, with its behaviour and with its stated, you do not think they are genocidal towards Israel? No,
but am I allowed to actually answer? Or are you going to stop me from answering?
Well, you just answered. You said no, didn't you?
Because what you're saying is essentially saying, well, am I allowed to say any more? Or I just get to say no and that's it. Because what you're talking about here is a group of colonized people. Well, these are a group of colonized people who are fighting against a settler colonial entity that seeks to eliminate them. I'm not going to sit here and call Hamas genocidal, just like I wouldn't call a slave revolt in the U.S. against plantation owners genocidal, just like I wouldn't call Algerians fighting the French colonizers genocidal.
I hear you. So would you, this is a question I've asked many people for many months, would you then condemn what Hamas did on October the 7th or not?
I don't condemn Palestinian armed resistance groups, just like I wouldn't condemn slaves shooting at their plantation masters. Apparently, a lot of you would. I wouldn't condemn Nat Turner's rebellion. I wouldn't condemn Geronimo. I wouldn't condemn the Irish fighting the British.
I just want to add one more thing that's really important. I find it incredibly hypocritical to hear Rania talk about settler colonialism when, in fact, she herself is Lebanese, and the only entity that's acting as a colonialist entity in the Middle East is the Islamic Republic Republic of Iran, which has essentially colonized Lebanon and completely destroyed it, that is colonizing Hamas in the Gaza Strip. It's a proxy of the Islamic Republic. They are the ones calling the shot over what goes on in the Gaza Strip and how Hamas rules over the Palestinian people. If that's not colonialism and imperialism, then I don't know what is.
Well, I'll answer that in just a moment. I just want to point out that I'm not at all surprised by anything Emily said, because she herself is a settler. So, of course, she feels entitled to pontificate about a region that I actually am indigenous to. But to get back to the issue of the hostages, you know, my outlet Breakthrough News actually did a review of all of the various ceasefire deals that Hamas put forward and was willing to agree to. There was 10 since October 7th. In fact, in the immediate aftermath of October 7th, Hamas was willing to release the hostages in exchange for Palestinian hostages, who we never hear about, by the way. There are 10,000 Palestinians being held by the Israelis. Many of them are children, by the way. I'd love to see you have one of their parents on your show. But all that said, Israel is the one that has refused any of these deals.
You mean the children
in fact,
who
the
are
only
recruited by
hostages who
Hamas?
have been killed. Let me finish, Emily. I let you repeat all of your imperialist talking points.
No, don't speak over each
Can I
other.
finish talking?
No, let Rania finish. Emily, let Rania finish.
Because you don't see Palestinians as human, so of course you can't see any of them as innocent or hostages.
Absolutely false.
But I actually do see them as human. So let me finish what I'm saying here about the hostages.
Just not Jews. You just
Israel
don't see Jews as human, right?
About Israel is who you need to talk about, or talk to about why they have not agreed to any of these deals, because they prefer to carry out and continue their genocide in Gaza to steal more land and get revenge, because it is a society that is consumed by hate at the moment. And I don't need to tell you that. You can just go look at the TikTok videos being put up by Israeli soldiers celebrating their criminality in Gaza every single day.
And Rania,
as well as the genocidal statements by Israeli officials.
Rania, just to be clear, you don't think that Hamas are filled with hate for Jewish people or Israel, and you don't think they celebrated
I
the
think Palestinians,
hang on.
Piers,
and you don't think they celebrated proudly by broadcasting a lot of it to the world what they did to those innocent people on October the 7th. You don't see that that's the same thing.
Piers, Palestinians don't need to be like high on hate, because they've been occupied and slaughtered for 76 years. And any people, not just Palestinians, would respond to that angrily and would fight for their survival, including all the colonized people in the world who've ever had to fight for their survival.
Okay.
There's historical parallels here. I've already made them. And Palestinians, and just like any human beings in the world, are always going to fight for their survival. What I know right now is that the top priority should be to end the genocide in Gaza. There is a genocide taking place. 13,000 children, more than 13,000, have been killed. You know, there's now something called wounded child, no surviving family in Gaza, because of how many children are wounded with no surviving family. This has been a horror show in Gaza. Babies are being starved. Are we not watching the same videos? Are you all not seeing the mutilated children with amputated limbs crying without their parents?
But out of interest,
because of this ongoing
Rania,
slaughter?